Hello, Bl'Artagnan here, bringing you a zero boss turn run of the Humbaba Lufenia. Big shoutouts to Excalibur on YouTube, who I'll be linking in the video description for coming up with this setup. You should definitely check out his run and most of his other runs. Very insightful commentary from there, so if you want to be a better player at this game, he's a great great resource in terms of kind of getting insight. Also shoutouts to Ikaju, who did a similar run to this with a zero ingot Terra, which is kind of ridiculous. He's another fantastic YouTuber if you want to learn more about how to play the game. So we're starting off with our Ultimecia, that's important, opening with her LD to get her buff up, then switching her out quickly for the friend Ultimecia in order to buy some room with the burst weapon's turn deletion. You want to go EX to set up her turns, BT, LD, skill 1 to put her debuff up, which activates Serah's auras, and then finally, for her last turn, we'll be using the LD. You'll also see that earlier I used Terra's skill 1, Meltdown. I found that it caps before we're set up with Serah's auras, whereas Meteor doesn't. Once we're set up and we have Serah's 6 debuff conditional met, it's Meteor all the way. The damage is slightly better. I think it's a difference of 20,000 in total. But before that happens, skill 1 actually does slightly more damage. So I have a couple of small variations that I made compared to Excalibur's run. I'm using Brother Summon instead of Odin, which gives me higher damage ceilings and more regen from Serah, though less damage per hit. So there'll be cases where Ulti and Serah in particular will deal less damage, and cases where they'll deal more. I'm not really sure which one's objectively better, and chances are it probably wouldn't matter in the long run, but I wanted to see if there was a discernible difference. So you ideally want to drop both of them below the different cleansing threshold at the same time, so that you can get Serah's 60 buff conditional met again. In this case, it was a little awkward. I had to spend a couple turns hitting A to get him below the threshold. And that's also why I'm opening with the LD here, to get that defense down from Goddess's Light up, since her EX wasn't available. And we're using the Gavrant Call to get back up to 60 buffs quickly. And it's Meteor all the way. So the video is actually going to jump in a few turns, probably close to the 70% mark. Just I had to pause, so it might be a bit jarring when that shows up. But just giving you a heads up there. In terms of pacing, both Ulti and Terra can really kind of go ham on this fight. In Terra's case, I'm trying to save her LD for when she's run out of stacks, because on her regular turns she can otherwise just chuck Meteor. Obviously, if you really need the turn buffer, to kind of push them to a certain delay threshold or something like that, then use the LD. But otherwise, that's kind of the way I've been using her, is basically the LD is effectively like a 800,000 damage button that also gives her some stacks. I've been hearing some comparisons between Squall and Terra now. They do slightly different. Okay, they don't do different things. They both do damage, but Squall has a higher damage per button, I find. But if you start thinking of Terra, there's the skip. If you start thinking of Terra's button in terms of like the LD as just an 800,000 damage button, that's a pretty impressive. That's like Tifa LD levels of button. Getting ahead of ourselves there in terms of, I guess, the damage per turn, not counting the free turns as turns. So here we're just, chucking swords, trying to charge Ulti's EX. We're going to be bursting in a second. Once again, to kind of buy ourselves some room. Because once we, once we get them to the 59% mark or 49% mark and the 29% mark, they delay themselves. So that's going to be kind of the extra buffer space we're going to get for the 0 turn run. We just need to get to that point at this from here. So using the burst around the 60% mark is probably the way to go there, because you obviously want to make sure that you get all 3 turn deletions from ulti off before they actually hit 50% and frame their turns. Now, you see, I make a mistake here actually of sorts. I use Hope just for the battery, forgetting that that's going to push off the generic attack debuff that Serah brings. So that's another difference between my run on Excalibur, which is he uses the Rude Call to activate Odin's passive, which is a cool trick, one that I'm a big fan of. But I figured that my thinking was with Hope it would give me an extra button to stall, free kind of stall call button if I needed to, and it would still give me great damage once they pass 50%. The awkward thing again is that it does mess with our buffs a bit. So here we're trying to bring them both below 50%. We're looking like we have enough turns that I don't think that's going to be a problem, but we'd like to do it at the same time, and as you can see there, it didn't quite work out the way I hoped. So I end up using Jack's regular call to get through that. I actually really appreciate that in addition to the very good debuff that Jack brings with his LD call, his regular call is actually pretty solid for just a single good hit on someone, and that can make the difference with it. I like using him with X-Death, for instance, when I really need to make a break and I don't want to waste an actual valuable call. I can just throw out a decent 100,000 damage regular call, and that's pretty sweet. Now, we drop Hope, the actual Hope call. And that brings us back up to 6 debuffs. And you're going to see at this point, Ulti should be hitting for 9s on pretty much everything she does. It's pretty much a damage race at this point. We're just trying to kind of kill them all the way down. You'll see also, I didn't comment when I did it, but I used Serah's LD again, since her EX wasn't up and I wanted that defense drop from her LD/EX debuff. We're not in danger of running the buff out on Serah, so we might as well use it to get that debuff down. He's basically doing max damage. At this point, it's basically just a question of, do we? Not do we, but when do we use the different skills to kind of maximize their impact? In an ideal world, we're going to end this fight with exactly 0 held judgments, exactly 0 meteors, exactly 0 shockwave pulsars. Because basically every one of those that we have left over was probably spent on something like a Protean sword or like a meltdown that didn't need to be used. Here we're using Terra's LD to just kind of blow through to their last threshold. Still have the summon in the back pocket. terms of when I timed this summon, I wanted to use it at a time during Ulti's rotation when it wouldn't eat into her free turns if I could avoid it, just to keep the turn count as low as I could. So I ended up using it here. The thing is, if you're just skill spamming with Ulti, she really only uses one skill outside of her EX free turn rotation, as far as like keeping the turn count goes. Hopes buffs have finally fallen off Ulti, so we can go ahead and reapply that attack up. Not that I think it's super important at this point, pretty much capping on everything. But yeah, this was a super fun team to use. It's really kind of balls to the walls offense in a way that you know, sort of zero turn runs are nothing new, but it feels good to do it with so many free turns as part of the package of it. And again, huge shoutouts to Excalibur for putting this team idea together. If you have any interest in kind of learning how to play the game better and kind of gleaning insights into the way you should do things, he's definitely someone you should check out. And again, along with Pikachu, who does pretty insane budget runs that are very, very thoughtful. Both of them actually very thoughtful in how they present their information and kind of how they approach the game. So we're getting pretty darn close there. Again, in the interest of kind of keeping the turn count low, I'm trying to squeeze out every free turn advantage we can here with the AA and things like that. I think at this point the only person benefiting from the overflow on her AA is Serah herself, because the other two are already capping on basically everything. And you'll see with Terra, I think I've used up all of my meteors at this point, which is great. That's what I was hoping to do. And with Ulti, that's my second to last Hell's Judgment, because I get the one more back from the LD. I'm all out of meteors, which is great. I was hoping that this Meltdown Plus would finish it off, but it doesn't, which, I mean, it's still fine, you know. I think we're going to be getting 38 turns from this. Yeah, 38 turns. So it feels pretty good. But again, I hope you enjoyed this. Check in the description the videos for Excalibur and Pikachu's runs. They're both fantastic, and I highly recommend subscribing to them as well. But yeah, I hope you had a good time here. Consider hitting the like button if you did. It'll share this with others, and I'll see you around. Thanks for watching.